Hello, everyone. Welcome. We are here for the Haxor versus TheLostLlama quarterfinal of Super Mario Bros. 300%. I'm Troy of Athens. Here with me,
TheHaxor, and we'll be happy to commentate for this GSA Super Mario Bros. 3 100% tournament. So we'll be kicking things off, as mentioned, with TheHaxor and TheLostLlama, two really solid players.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun to see. I was commentating with Haxor yesterday, and yeah, it's really clear to see how much knowledge he has. I know TheLostLlama has a lot of knowledge as well about this game, so I know that they're gonna fight really well, and it's gonna be pretty close.
I know TheLostLlama has been a really strong contender on the leaderboards for a while. I know he's been on hiatus at least since February, and he's just recently gotten back into it, but it hasn't really taken him long at all to de-rust, because I know that he's been pulling out some high 111 and low 112 times, so I have some high expectations for him going into this race, and I know that Haxor's really been driving hard at this for years, so I know this is going to be really exciting.
Yeah, so the countdown has started. They've started the game. We might get a slight pause on Llama's side just so that we can sync these back up just a little bit, but you know. Yep, there it is, as I say it. And there you go, finished level 1.
It doesn't take too long to take care of the little bit of recalibration on the sync, so...
Yeah, 1-1 is a very simple level, so it's a good starting point to just kind of like realize what's going on. And yeah, this whole game is just about building up P-speed in the right spots. And so yeah, I think Haxor was a bit late with his P-speed.
It didn't look like it didn't look like either of them got the early P-speed on level 1-2. It's not the easiest thing to be consistent at. There is some subpixel luck involved when you're running up the base of both of those hills.
So that must have been what happened. Yeah, TheLostLlama didn't look like he attempted for the early P-speed, and then Haxor tried for it and failed it. So it just didn't work out.
Sometimes you see different strategies approach for the first 3 levels. Sometimes you see players pick up the mushroom early on in level 1-1, or sometimes they'll pick it up on the 3 wooden blocks in 1-3.
Yeah.
It's slightly faster to do the latter strat, but it doesn't lose too much time either. It's only like maybe a half a second to 1 second difference.
Here we are, 1-4. First auto-scroller of the game.
I'm sorry.
There's nothing really like gonna be that important here. They are keeping watch of their coin count and their point totals and stuff, because this is really where you can start keeping that in mind. But other than that, it's kind of just waiting for the level to finish.
Coin ships can spawn in place of one of the Hammer Bros on the world map, and this happens when your coin count is a multiple of 11, and the second to last digit of your score matches that coin count. So, for example, it'll spawn if your score ends in 80 and your coin count is 88, or ends in 90 and 99, respectively, and so on. Coin ships can potentially pop up in worlds 1, 3, 5, and 6, so it's never too early to be wary of those numbers, as Troy alluded to earlier. No one wants to really think about doing math on the fly, but the time repercussions for encountering a coin chip can easily swing a race or cost you a PB, since you can lose up to seconds to a minute, depending on where you decide to take a death.
Yeah, I found that a lot of people just want to chill and like chill there and like get ready for the rest of the run, but in reality, you really should be thinking about just like how much like impact that one level could have on the rest of your run. Because coin count and point totals definitely matter.
The fortunate thing about 100% is you're doing all of the levels, so as long as you're approaching each of those levels consistently each time you play, you can kind of get an idea of what your coin count should be.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a small handful of checkpoints in the game, so as long as you're just sticking to those, looking at your numbers on the auto-scrollers, you really don't have too much to worry about.
Yeah. No, but that's essentially what I'm saying. So, like, you see, okay, so this time around, I have this amount of coins. Let me get this amount of coins on this auto-scroller. So I am now at this point where I'll be comfortable and won't have a chance of potentially spawning a coin ship by accident.
Yes, exactly.
Like, in my mind, I feel like the auto-scroller is like that good opportunity for you to actually balance yourself out.
There's maybe like 3 or 4 levels up until the middle of World 6 where I have a set idea of what my coin count should be. So,
Yeah.
like, by the end of 6-2, I'll probably want it to be like between 69 and 71. Things like that.
Yeah. So, on to the first airship now. Of course, we got Doggo.
So, Doggo is apparently Rupert's dog.
Someone was saying it's the Duck Hunt dog, so I tried to look at it to see if it looks like the Duck Hunt dog. It really doesn't. This one has spots, and the Duck Hunt dog does not have any spots. It's not the same dog.
Yeah, the only thing they have in common is that they're yellow. Otherwise,
yeah. They look completely different. Don't be trying to tell me that's a Duck Hunt dog. That's not the Duck Hunt dog.
Bark fake news. Alright, so we're coming up on our first airship, so they're going to be facing Larry Koopa first. It's worth noting at this point that all the Koopa Link that you fight have fixed patterns that rotate depending on what frame you land on between by the time you enter the pipe. So sometimes they'll shoot their wand right away, sometimes they'll jump early, sometimes they'll just walk toward you for a couple seconds before they do anything else. So as we see with Larry, they both got the easy fire kill, so they just kind of move forward and we're just able to land like 10 shots in his face. So
the Koopa Kid RNG patterns are, like, in my mind, that's like the hardest thing for me to fully understand, like, because I don't know all of the patterns. So for you to be sitting down here and being like, oh, they got there at that frame, so they're gonna have this pattern, and I'm like, sure.
that's totally fair, and that's something that that's something that you really have to go back and practice a lot in order to be consistent at and be able to anticipate in advance. You could manipulate it in World 1 depending on where the Hammer Bro lands. So if it's like to the left of that bridge before the ship, fire a flower and avoid the lag from getting the power up as the level's transitioning, depending on when you get it. So those frames that you save could give you a good determination of what pattern you'll get. Accordingly.
TheHaxor doing some good job of maintaining the slide speed right now. That level's really fun to see.
It's worth noting that even though you want to maintain P-speed for the as much as you can, the fastest Mario can actually go is when he's sliding down the hill at maximum velocity.
Yeah, which is what you utilize at the beginning of that level. You slide, and then you're just holding that momentum the whole way through.
Coming up on the one and only fortress in World 2, so ideally what you want to do is get P-speed as soon as you can, and it's easier said than done considering there's so many dry bones that are scattered throughout the bottom floor. So you want to make sure that you're really careful about landing as far to the left as you can get past those steps, and then making the smallest jumps possible just to clear the dry bones and surface as you can to run on. Like LostLlama got it.
Yeah. So yeah, TheHaxor is gonna be the first one to finish the first fortress, or second fortress. Fortress in World 2. And so yeah, just a little bit ahead here.
Yeah, they're making their way through 2-3 now. This level's a good exercise in measuring calculated medium jumps. So you'll want to stay on the low end of those pyramid platforms to build P-speed, and then carefully time the height of your jump so that you're stomping those fake blocks to make your way to the far end of the level. And as soon as you kick the shell to start breaking those blocks, you immediately want to start positioning yourself right over the pipe, so you can just hold down and exit as soon as the path is fully cleared for you.
Yeah. And the Angry Sun's here. Angry Sun's not going to be that much of a threat as long as you just keep moving, essentially.
There's no way he can touch you as long as you're standing on those rows of blocks that are scattered throughout the level.
Yeah.
So this is going to be the point at which they'll probably change routes depending on which Hammer Bros they decide to go for. sequence by where they move. You want to start fighting them as soon as possible to reduce your movements and make sure that you're getting that hammer so you could break the rock for the Fire Bros.
Yeah,
they are doing 100%, so you don't want to forget about doing that Fire Bro and grabbing that whistle.
Yeah, you need all of them. Haxor seems to be getting a better pattern right now with the bros. He was able to get rid of one really quickly. And Llama still has to deal with having both of them on the map. And yeah, see, like, Haxor's already done with his bros. Like, that was some really good RNG for him.
That was really fortunate for him.
Yeah.
So Haxor's going to be moving on to the pyramid now. There's two strats that the runners are going to want to make use of in this pyramid. The first of which is boosting past the first block wall by running into it with a Buzzy Beetle shell and then throwing it at the wall with just enough space between them to just duck and sneak by. The game does grant you a small window of invincibility when you're that close to a ricocheting shell, which is why you can get away without taking any damage. The second strat, once you're on the upper level, is just allowing the second shell to drop down and break a path for you to duck slide under. It looks like Haxor had a little bit of trouble getting out of there in a timely fashion, but
yeah.
Still able to do so nonetheless. So, coming up on the one and only set of Fire Bros that are in the game.
Yep,
so
and you gotta remember to get there. Yeah, sorry.
So yeah, ideally the strat is just to stomp on both of their heads, but you also want to be wary of the height at which you're jumping when you make those stomps, because sometimes the Fire Bros will jump at the same time as you do, and then you'll just collide right into them and take damage.
Yeah. So ultimately, yeah, Haxor ended up getting better RNG with the bros, but he just messed up a little bit on levels, and it's allowing Llama to actually maintain pretty close by Haxor. I thought he would get a pretty big gap from that RNG, but it just didn't. It kind of evened out from certain levels. And Llama's scared because he's at 55 coins right now.
It's worth noting that they both entered the castle.
Sorry? You cut out there.
Oh, sorry, I was just saying that they both entered the dialogue in the castle at a relatively close time, so they're only a couple seconds apart. This is still a very close race.
Absolutely. Like I said, it basically evened out from a couple mess ups on the just like essentially having to navigate around enemies slowly instead of quickly like Llama was able to do. Like, Haxor didn't take any deaths, or really much damage. Like, his damage is, like, he got the power-ups right where he needed them, but he managed to, like, miss certain cycles, essentially. And so had to wait him out.
The only mistakes I saw Llama make were losing that P-speed in the beginning of the fortress and then taking damage in 2-4, but even then he was able to recover and get the Fire Flower in the airship. He was able to get that smooth fire kill up. Both of them did really good job.
Yeah. People gotta remember, odd changes the digit, even keeps it the same.
Odds change, evens don't.
Odds change, evens don't. It's very important math. Just talk. Yeah, Llama and Haxor are actually talking with each other about how to avoid coin chips, because Llama got very scared about coin chips for a second. So we had to remind him: odds change, even don't.
So yeah, 3-1 is going to be a pretty basic swimming level to start out with. They're effectively just moving forward, steering clear of the bloopers, and then making their way over to the wall to build their P-speed over half of the level's water, and then effortlessly make their way to the exit pipe. So 3-2 is where things are going to start to heat up now, because they have a really tricky early P-speed strat in which they get as far to the left as they can and then turn and move on to that first wooden beam as soon as it's turning left onto that as it hits that first elbow. And then if they line themselves up correctly, they can get P-speed once they get across that row of donuts. So Looks like TheLostLlama took a little bit of damage along the way, but he was able to recover and get out of there in a fairly timely fashion.
Yeah, and it looks like Llama has recovered and is no longer really worried about the coin ships.
Unless he tries to YOLO in 3-3, he's going to be without a Fire Flower going into the fortress, so he's going to inevitably lose a couple seconds there. But he will still be able to he'll still be able to get one in 3-6 because he's going to be using the P-Wing as soon as he gets into 3-5. So we'll get to that as that happens. Oh, Haxor's making his way to 3F now, so runners will want to get P-Speed as soon as that meter fills, and then make their way past the clumps. 6, which will lead them straight to Boom Boom. Every once in a while you see runners try to enter door 3, which ordinarily leads you straight into the water. But if a player is able to press up on the first frame in which they have control of Mario, they can re-enter the door in midair and then go straight to Boom Boom that way. It's a risky shortcut that'll save a couple seconds, but it's really not worth it when you're in a race setting or you're on good pace. Haxor's making his way to 3-4 now, so you want to do 3-5 first, just because you have the advantage of a damage boost out of the tail for early P speed, and this allows you to run for the rest of the stage while steering clear of the Goombas and Spinies along the way. You just want to be careful how you measure your jumps, because landing on an upward slope could cause you to come to a dead halt. You won't be able to make the height needed to cross some of the water gaps in the beginning.
Yeah, it looked more like Haxor decided to do 3-4 first because he got a runner for his bro, and so he wanted to get rid of that as quickly as possible, so he went out of his way just to get rid of the other hammer, rather.
But yeah, that's totally fair. That's actually a really good idea. Just kind of break paths a little bit, just depending on how they want to track down those hammer bros. Yeah. The more they're going to be moving around on the map, and that's going to cost you extra time.
Yeah. It's about half a second per move. And you don't know how many moves they're going to do on the map, so...
World 4 is especially where you have to watch out, because it could just become a haven of marathons really quickly. Get them on the map, and then you have a couple forks in the road where they could just overlap each other ad infinitum for 10 minutes.
Yeah. So now they're both on the World 3 autoscroller here. With Haxor entering it a bit earlier. Haxor definitely still is in the lead because he's done 3. Actually, it's hard to say because Haxor still has 3-5 to do, I believe, as well. He skipped over 3-5, or did he do it? It was just so fast.
I could have sworn they both got 3-5.
Okay. I just feel like Haxor might have gone around a level or something. Okay.
I would imagine that
2, 4, 5. Okay.
It's usually conventional to just do get 3 and 4 and 3-5 out of the way before moving on to 3-6, because then you'll have that early fire flower grab. A good transition out of the tail.
Okay.
3-7 is one of the easier levels to get through in World 3. At most, it's just a matter of running forward with P-Speed, although you do want to make sure you're carefully measuring your jumps by the time you make your way over to the Spike and Koopa. So the strat just entails stomping on either of them, making your way over to the clouds, and then small jumping at the end onto the block, and then jumping again straight to the level card. You'll experience some lag frames on the way down once in a while, which will affect your follow-up jump, but it's not impossible to recover from worst-case scenario, which just doesn't register in time.
And now we're at the underwater fortress, and yep, both getting the super swim. Start. And doing the boo bars.
There's just two things, minor things you really have to watch out for in this fortress. The first of which is the power swim, so you just do a small to medium jump from where you're standing, and then just duck slide into the shallow water, and then you'll get a nice little boost into the pipe that'll save you a couple frames.
Yeah, it allows you to enter the pipe right away.
And then as soon as you're in...
you enter the water.
That water, all you have to do is just steer clear of bumping into any walls or the stretch buoys, and then because that could cost you about 2 seconds just because of water physics. So 3-8 is one of the few levels that don't really incorporate P-Speed as a strat, so the objective here is to clear those 2 ice blocks as soon as you can and then start jumping immediately every time you come in contact with the water. So long as you're maintaining rhythm, Big Bertha will get close to you at the very most, but never have the opportunity to eat you. Anytime. 3-9 is the home of the first infamous H jump, so you'll see the runners both build that P-Speed right away. Platforms and the bombs in such a way that'll position them just past the note blocks, so they'll have the height and distance to clear the gap no problem. And it looks like they both got it, so really good job from both of our racers. Easier said than done, but if you can make it, you do save a good chunk of time, maybe about 5 to 7 seconds. And it also allows you to save a hefty amount of lag due to throwing those ice blocks. So TheHaxor and Llama are both only a couple seconds apart. So the third airship, which is the home of Wendy Koopa. Interestingly enough, Wendy is one of the easier Koopalings to fire kill, but the hardest to jump kill normally. Because you're on the flat ground in the battle arena. And it makes it easy to measure your distance and shoot the fireballs in pairs until she's down. So it's also one of the Koopalings whose patterns you don't really have to worry about because she can be fought the same way each time. The only downside of having to jump kill her, however, is the fact that she fires off those rings with the wand that bounce around the room and never disappear until she's defeated. It's tricky enough to maneuver around them once you're there, but once she starts jumping too, and that gets caught in the mix, it's very easy to get caught off guard and take damage that way as well. Really not much. There's not really too much to worry about in this auto-scroller, aside from a couple rocky wrenches. Those Spitfires along the way.
Yeah.
So you don't want to fall asleep on an auto-scroller because that could become a disaster pretty quickly.
TheHaxor was able to deal with Wendy pretty quickly there.
Very nice. Looks like TheLostLlama's following suit. Very nice job as well.
Just a pure fire kill from Llama. And that was like a 2108 on that wand. I did not really see what TheHaxor got.
I missed that as well. So it looks like both of our racers are making their way over to World 4 now, which is also known as Giant Land. So I know it's one of the more popular worlds among players generally, just because everything is fun-sized. So 4-1 is going to have a pretty fun P-Speed strat coming up. You'll either want to grab the big Koopa shell, or at least clear a path with those fireballs so that you can land flush with every surface you run on. And then that way, as we saw TheHaxor do, build P-Speed just in time to boost past the waterfall, onto the platforms, and then through those carefully timed jumps, and then land right in front of the exit pipe. Both able to get it. Very nice job. So 4-2 is also a fun stage to run through with nothing terribly complicated going on. Just want to make sure that you're at least grabbing one of those ice blocks in the beginning to take out the 2 fire piranhas coming up, and then make some carefully measured jumps to land right in front of the exit. It's generally advisable to approach the end of the level from the upper platforms in the clouds, because you never know when you're going to get a surprise from one of the Cheep Cheeps below. Alright, 4-3. This is one of the more aesthetically appealing levels to run through, both for the runner and anyone who may be watching. More often than less, the first Sledge Bro will just jump right at the start, so you can just run right underneath him. The fireball is just as a good safety measure. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that goes on in this next section of the level. So everything just comes together, from the stumps you make on the Fuzzy Beetles to all the carefully placed jumps on those small platforms. It just looks really nice once it's all put together. Coming up on one of the more annoying fortresses in the game. A good safety measure going into it is to use a star, and that temporary invincibility you have will come in handy if in the scenario you make contact with the hot foot candle in this level as you're executing the P-speed strat.
But TheHaxor here.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he did that without a star. And it looks like Llama actually messed up the strategy and did have to wait a thwomp out there. So even
though there's even with that considered, they're still only a couple seconds apart. They're still keeping on good pace with one another.
Yeah, both dealing with it a little differently. But definitely TheHaxor just like showing off there almost, you know, being able to get through there without the star. Doesn't need it.
You do lose about a half second or so just by menuing and selecting the star. So if you feel confident in it, there's no reason not to just YOLO it. So this is another point at which they'll probably break paths with each other just because of the fork in the road and how they're gonna have to deal with the Hammer Bro RNG.
With that first Hammer Bro, at least they got the same RNG, so they're gonna fight that one. But it looks like, yeah, I think Llama has one more Hammer Brother to deal with than TheHaxor right now. So that's why, like, they looked closer than they were, but I feel like Llama has skipped over a Hammer Brother, essentially. Like, he's dealing with those Hammer Brothers now.
Llama
so
had,
now you're seeing what the actual cap is.
Right. Yeah, it looks like Llama was one Hammer Bro behind. And it looks like TheHaxor's last Hammer Bro decided to be a jerk and just go straight to where the bridge was, so you have to take a cloud to just confront him sooner.
Yeah, all the Hammer Brothers are dealt with now, but yeah, it just was... Yeah, TheHaxor had more of a lead than I thought that I think either of us realized. I was starting to realize it a little bit, but yeah, it's like... Yeah. Gotta watch the Hammer Brothers sometimes.
5 is one of the few levels in the game that don't really make use of any P-speed. It's just a simple matter of good platform jumping and sniping at those 3 piranha plants that you encounter along the way. And as long as you're constantly moving forward, you don't have to worry about coming in contact with those homing bullet bills. And it's also a good opportunity to grab a mushroom or a fire flower if at any point you took any damage. It blocks his right along the way as well.
And it looks like TheHaxor's not going to be able to build the early P-speed on that fortress, unfortunately.
Looks like neither of them were able to do so. Yeah, it's very easy to get frame rolled when you're trying to have those carefully executed jumps going up the steps and then just landing flush with those platforms and those donut lifts. When you have about 5 or 6 arrows filled, that's a good sign that you're going to get that P-speed, but it doesn't always work out that way.
So some good backups there, realizing that they weren't going to get the P-speed and just reacting appropriately.
Best case scenario, if they did get that early P-speed, it would save 2 seconds, but if you don't get it, again, it's really not the biggest deal.
It's pretty minor, it just looks cool, is really how it is.
It does look very nice.
All of the P-speed strats just essentially look cool, in my mind. Like, yeah, they save time, but they also just... It's just really cool to just be able to just fly through a stage like that.
As we're rounding up the first half of the game with the World 4 airship, we're definitely going to be seeing more of those swaggy P-speed strats, so definitely be looking forward to those.
Yeah, this is the slowest ship, right?
It's the slowest scrolling ship, but it's not the longest.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, I thought this was the slowest scrolling, so yeah.
I think the longest airship would actually be the World 7 one with Little Big Koopa, and that one's going to come closer to around 2 minutes.
Right.
They're going to both want to avoid grabbing the item block that's on both their screens right now, because that's going to give them a raccoon tail.
Right.
Hold on to that fire flower, especially as they go through level 5-3.
What just happened to Llama?
Yeah, Llama's showing off a little bit. When you're pushing against the outer border during an auto-scroller and you're standing on a rocky wrench, the game still thinks you're standing on a platform even when you're being pushed into midair. So you're able to get a little bit of running involved.
I did not know of that glitch. That was... I got very confused.
I didn't know about it either until maybe 2 or 3 months ago. Alright, so we got a nice little fire kill on Iggy Koopa, so really good job, and looks like Llama's gonna try to follow suit. So they're going to be making their way over to World 5, so there's still going to be a couple opportunities where either of our runners can be tripped up on some of the trickier levels. So they both have their fire flowers going into World 5, so that's going to serve them as a huge advantage, especially early on.
Right, World 5 is definitely like the world with like some of the hardest P-speed strats.
There is a P-speed strat, believe it or not, in 5-1. It's just really, really hard to pull off just because you have to land flush with a lot of those steps as you're firing off on those nippers. And then as soon as you get to the top, you can just barely get a little bit of P-speed. And that's going to save you barely any time, but impressive when you're able to pull it off.
Right.
So 5-2 is pretty simple in terms of execution, but has some serious time repercussions if, worst case scenario, you take the fall of shame right in the beginning. If you do, you'll end up making your way to a passage that's infested with piranha plants, buster beetles, ice blocks, small hills.
Okay, we're good. that was scary.
Almost the commentator's curse, not quite.
Yeah. I was like, stop for a second, please. I don't want to see the area.
Yeah, compared to the upper route, the fall of shame could lose you up to 16 seconds, just because it's... Right, so they're making their way over to the first fortress now. The first fort is going to be another very easy one in terms of execution. You just want to make your way onto those lower levels, just to make your way across the ragu, and then once you build that initial P-speed, it's very easy to navigate past the thwomps and eroded discs. As long as you're fast, they're not going to be able to touch you. So I think the more optimal route would just be to, as soon as you finish the fort, then just go straight for 5-3, and then tackle the Hammer Bros as they come. So it looks like TheHaxor's getting some good RNG because the Hammer Bros just right next door. He stays put.
Llama's still getting some weird RNG with his. TheHaxor's just getting better RNG with the bros in general.
3 has to be one of the most annoying gatekeepers in World 5 because it's one of the longer levels in the game to endure maintaining P-speed 4 without taking damage, and it has some pretty awkward execution. It's unique in the sense that you have to move from right to left for the first half, and you want to have that meter filled as soon as you snipe out those two spinies as we saw them do. And when you're jumping, you can carry that momentum to the pipe onto the far end, and you can maintain the meter without getting frame ruled. You'll want to run over those small gaps containing those munchers, and while jumping, you have to make your way past the piranha plant pipes. It's much easier said than done.
Yeah, I have to say that 5-3 is like probably one of my favorites because it just looks really cool, and I know it's very difficult to actually pull off, so to be able to see people pulling it off just so easily right now is crazy to me.
It does look cool, but I'm gonna tell you, I hate playing it.
No, I don't blame you. From a viewer perspective, I just, for me, it just like seems like something that I just absolutely respect about you guys. Is like that level alone is just like wow.
It's totally fair point to make. So, both of our players are finishing up the tower now, so they'll be making their way over to the second half of Sky World. 5-4 is pretty straightforward. The first platform you're on is just long enough to build P-speed, and you're going to want to carry it past the spinners and the wooden blocks coming up. So even though it is pretty easy to execute, it's also easy to mess up as well. So it's very easy to get caught up on those spinners if you miscalculate a jump and then just get swung right off the end. Issues with either of them, so interestingly enough, has a very early P-speed strat that involves doing a turn back on that first block you stand on. And then you can clear a path for yourself past the Paragoomba and the Koopas to build meter. And then lift off just as you reach those 3 wooden blocks. You just want to make sure you don't bonk onto the top block, because you run the risk of Leaf power-up, which would otherwise kill your speed. It's just a matter of platform jumping across the donut bridge. And so, long as you're fast, you'll be able to dodge those fire piranhas that come up.
Okay. I nearly flinched for a second because I know the star is like right after the flower, so Llama nearly got 3 in a row.
Yeah, you do want to avoid getting 3 of a kind, especially with the stars, because
that gives you the most, yeah.
You get extra time for every 1-up that it gives you. So a 5-up will net you an extra 4 seconds.
He would have gotten the flowers, which I believe is 3, so it wouldn't have been too bad, but it's still annoying because it's time loss that you can easily avoid.
Exactly. So 5-6, a lot of it is just going to be, again, since it's an auto-scroll, you just have to worry about... you may notice our runners make a brief pause entering the pipe at the end of the level, and they do this because of the way the game loads the exits. If you enter the pipe at the earliest moment possible, you can be crushed by the outer borders of the level while it's still scrolling, and then you can just end up taking a death that way. And honestly, I had no idea that was even a thing until around this time last year when I started. Looks like Haxor had no problem getting that P-speed in 5-7 and just carrying it past those blocks. TheLostLlama doesn't have that same luxury because he doesn't have a fire flower to clear a path past that Goomba. that Koopa.
Yeah, so you gotta stop for a second to go get that fire flower.
That's going to come in handy, especially in the fort. So, yeah, speaking of which, 5F2 is probably one of my favorite forts visually. And interesting to note is that as long as you're always moving forward and not wasting time, you generally don't have to worry about getting hit by the Podoboos in the lava. 5th platform, you'll have enough space to build P-speed just before you reach the dry bones. So depending on whether you stomp it or not will determine how far you jump, your jump will take you. And then once you're past those 2 question mark blocks, you could take a little turn back just to make sure you're avoiding those last Podoboos. And if you're lucky, you'll be able to despawn the dry bones right under the pipe. So in level 5-8, as we'll see Llama coming up on, that's a level that would normally be intimidating to go through casually with the Spinies, and the Lakitu that's just above you. You need to build P-speed by the time you get to the end of the 3rd platform, and then you can carry for the rest of the level.
It's just that duck jump at the end. It's just that duck jump at the end that looks really annoying.
You want to duck jump as you're leaping just to make sure that your hitbox doesn't come in contact with the Lakitu that's just leaning above you.
No, I get that. It's just like... It's just annoying inputs, that's all.
No.
Like, how many times in this game do you do duck jumps? Like...
There's going to be a couple instances. It's a good safety measure just to avoid those spiny eggs that are going to be coming up in 6-1 shortly. Either Haxor or the Llama do that as well. Alright, so 5-9 is lengthy auto-scroller. I know that players generally feel their feelings toward that level usually range from indifferent to just straight up hating it. It's pretty straightforward in the sense that the majority of it is just a lot of simple platform jumping, but you'll have to steer clear of those two fire snakes that come up. The first one's easy to snipe out if you have the fire flower equipped, otherwise you'll be dancing around the projectile that it's going to fire at you. It's easy to bait right underneath you from the left-hand side of the platform until it just lands right below you and just, kills itself. So they're going to be coming up on Airship 5, which is the home of Roy Koopa. And it's the first Koopaling that we're going to encounter that has Quake jumps if you decide to do it, the normal jump kills on them. But fortunately for both of them,
he's fine.
Damage, but
yeah, the Fireflower is right there. He's fine.
Fortunately for them, since they are doing 100% and they're going to be they're all going to be doing 5-9 as their last level, they can expect to get the same pattern each time when they face Roy. So, here are patterns to fire kill, because Roy is just going to walk up towards that ledge and just stand there for a couple seconds, and then actually just get 10 shots in his face. Is that no problem? Llama's able to
yeah, missed a couple fireballs.
Yeah, you had to pin him down because he tried to jump out at the last second, but he was able to keep him down just long enough to get a pretty efficient kill on him as well. 6-1 is going to start off with a really technical level right off the bat. You want to build P-Speed by starting as far to the left of those ice platforms as you can get. And then once you land, you want to do a turn back and make sure that you don't outrun your own fireball. And depending on where the piranha is positioned before it's shot, will serve as a good visual cue for when to jump in order to land on the question mark block. Especially considering that that piranha likes to move from left to right, and his positioning is not consistent every time you enter the level. So once you have those initial steps set up, everything just falls into place with subsequent series of large and medium jumps, and that will allow you to dodge the rest of the spiny eggs that come up thereafter. And while it is a pretty short stage to complete, there's a lot that goes on to be mentally aware of. Our flower to start out with, a star will still accomplish the same outcome that you want. 6-3 is a level that you don't really see P-Speed utilized in too much. A lot of runners will treat it as 4-5 in the sense that you're just doing a lot of platform jumping. But there is one point at which you can land flush with those series of scattered blocks, run across the gap on that Koopa, and then you can build P-Speed that way. It does save a little bit of time, but it is pretty risky to pull off. 6-2 is going to be our first auto-scroller in World 6. There's not going to be much going on aside from platform jumping as well on those clouds. And that's going to be the last checkpoint in which you'll have an easy opportunity to look at your coin count as you round up those last 3 Hammer Bros in the game, 2 of which are going to be on the opposite side of the Fortress Lock. Usually when I get to that point in the game, I'll have about 60-ish coins. So between those you collect in the air and those in the block, I'll personally try to keep myself between 70 and 71 coins by the time I end the level. You'll typically pick up anywhere from 4 to 5 coins in the fortress, depending on how you move around on the ride to avoid the Podoboos. And you'll definitely be collecting 5 as you are running towards, as you're running through 6-4.
And why does Llama keep doing this? I hate that he keeps going for multiples of 11 on his coin count. It scares me so much. He was at 77 before, and then grabbed a coin, and then hit the coin block and got up to 88. And I'm just like, stop!
Yes, World 6 is definitely prone to getting multiples of 11 when you least expect them. In fact, I think in my last race with Supersonic, where I was at 66 coins, and as I was trying to make my way past those last 2 Hammer Bros, and I'm just so lucky that my score just didn't match up each time.
Yeah. Okay, getting the damage boost through on both sides here. On that fortress, yeah. Yeah, I noticed yesterday that that's an upside down question mark at the end of this fortress. I don't understand why.
The upside down coin is going to be caused by an overkill glitch. The way Boom Boom is programmed, he has a set health value, and it's set to he's set to convert to the level ending coin. He's set to convert to an item specifically once he hits a certain numeric value. But when you get the star, or you overkill him with the hammer, or you shoot too many fireballs on the same frame, the game has to recalibrate in what's called an overkill, so it has to just force itself down to 0. As a result, you just kind of have an unintended visual glitch in which it just has the upside down coin.
That's kind of cool.
It is possible to give too much damage on to deal too much damage to Boom Boom, and he has to go well below what his normal threshold would be.
Okay. TheHaxor was not able to despawn the piranha plant here, but nope. Okay. I really don't know what causes it, so I don't know exactly what it is, but I know that's what you're trying to do on this level.
For level 6-6?
Yeah, you're trying to make it so the piranha plant doesn't spawn in that little passageway so you can just smoothly move through it.
I know Haxor's better at explaining this than I am, but when you're Small Mario, you want to get that P-speed on the hill as soon as you can, and then just fast as you can, but not too fast, or else he won't despawn. But you also can't be too slow either.
And okay.
It's sort of a Goldilocks level.
Right, and
it has to be just right.
TheHaxor messed up a little bit there.
It looks like TheLostLlama wasn't able to get the despawn on the Nipper plants as well. We're going to be coming up on 6-7, our second auto-scroller, so as long as Haxor's holding on to his tail for 6F2, he'll be in good shape. I do believe he took care of all...
Yeah, I'm now actually curious about the thing with rules. So 100% is supposed to be every level, but you're purposefully avoiding a coin chip. And isn't the coin chip a level, though?
It's technically the hammer bro, because it converts over. And if you do kill yourself on the coin chip, it'll just go revert right back to being a hammer bro.
Oh, okay, so you don't count it as a level because of that?
You still have to face all the hammer bros. So you could just force your way out of the coin chip. You don't have to play it as such. So you just fight him as a normal hammer bro as soon as he turns back.
Okay.
So I do believe that Haxor cleared all of the hammer bros that are on the map, so even if he had the 88 coins that he had in the beginning, it still wouldn't be a big deal. So the main strat, the reason why he wanted to have that raccoon tail is so that he flies underneath those two platforms right in the beginning, so that he can fly over half the level. So he'll do a damage boost there just because you'll be faster as a regular Big Mario. Set him up really well for when he goes into 6-8, so be utilizing the ice block to clear a path for him, and then he's going to be running across those small hills, and then hope that the leg doesn't kill his P-speed inadvertently. Which it didn't look like he did. He got the second H jump that we're going to be encountering in the game. His jump didn't line up just right, so he wasn't able to stomp on the Buster Beetle along the way, but that's not going to be a big deal since even if he did take a little damage, he didn't lose that much time, and he's going to be using the P-Wing right now to fly over 6-9. Not sure why he took a star with him though. That's a little.
It might have just been button mashing.
I'm just gonna chalk that up to just a menuing error.
Yeah.
So he's going to use that raccoon tail to just build P-speed right in the beginning, and then he's going to want to grab that fire plant, maintain that P-speed past the ice block wall. He kicked the shell the wrong way, and those leg frames killed his speed, so he's going to have to go through the rest of the level the old-fashioned way. Again, this is only going to be a 2-second difference over the recommended P-speed strat, so he still does have a decent lead right now, so he's still in pretty good shape for this run. Now that he has his Fire Flower that he got in 6-10, he's going to use it to fire kill Boom Boom here, and then he's going to want to maintain that Fire Flower until he makes his way over to level 7-2, and we'll see why once he gets to that point. Interesting thing to note about 6F3 is that just before you get to that doorway where those 3 boos are, there is an opportunity in which you can clip into the floor, and that'll bring you past the wall on the right-hand side, and that'll bring you straight to Boom Boom. It does save you 7 seconds just because you don't have to enter that room where you have to slowly scroll. Because of the risk factor involved, it's very easy to just fall into that spike bed, so it's really not worth going for.
But 7 seconds.
It is beautiful once you do achieve it, but how much trouble you see people have in 7-7 just trying to clip into that pipe, are really low. That's something you would only do if you're really desperate to save time.
Oh, so there is RNG involved in actually getting that clip. Okay, it's not just like it's not just getting the timing down.
It's I mean, don't get me wrong, there is an execution element involved to it. You do want to be on the right pixel, like you do want to be as precise as you can, but it's not going to be consistent 100% of the time you. So similar to level 7-1 where you're clipping into that wall, there was going to be some pixel luck involved with that as well. Be influenced on what you do in the levels beforehand. So even though it is possible to manipulate your subpixel value to increase your luck, the chance it really isn't worthwhile doing if you're an RTA runner. That's something you would only do if you're a TASer.
Yeah. And people asking, A64 today. Well, speaking of TAS, there is the SM64 TAS competition that happens. That is the weekly thing, and that's going to be shown right after the SMS run that we're having. So we're going to be pretty much marathoning this way. There's 5 things in a row going to happen. It's this, then right after this is Super Mario Sunshine Race quarterfinals, and then after that is the task competition, and then I believe 2 SMO Dark Side matches. So all in a row. Which is we got some good I feel it's a really good lineup coming up.
Definitely looking forward to that.
Whoa! Haxor just got first try.
Ooh.
Okay.
Very nice. So yeah, interesting thing to note about 7-1 is that if you do actually enter the door and then go through the level the normal way, you'll be subjected to a bunch of vertical pipes that you'll have to scale in order to complete. So if you're able to get through it cleanly the old-fashioned way, it does take about 50 seconds to complete. But if you are able to get the wall clip on the first try, as Haxor just did, it does save you up to 36 seconds.
Yeah, Llama getting the 3rd try there.
Still a really solid.
Yeah. I'm now curious about what pace Haxor is on, because getting first try means a lot for a good pace.
Yeah, I think I'll have a good reading on that once he finishes Ludwig at the end. It looks like he had a little bit of trouble in 7-2. He wasn't able to get the P-speed right away, so...
Yeah, he's having trouble building up P-speed here right now.
Yeah, rather than actually go through the trouble of trying to build that note block bridge to clear the gap, he just decided to turn back and then just do a little bit of damage boosting just to make his way past subsequent enemies. So it is a bit of a time loss, but he's still on pretty good pace.
Yeah, that was a lot of trouble that he just had there, allowing Llama to catch up a bit.
Llama actually took the lead by a couple seconds.
Yeah. I think they just had different level order, and that confused me for a bit.
7-3, you do have the opportunity to get P-speed immediately while running down the hill.
Now they're in the same level, and yeah, I can see that Llama definitely has a lead here.
Even if you do start the level as Small Mario, it's really not going to be a big deal because it doesn't affect the P-speed strat here, and they're both going to be using the P-wing as they make their way to 7-5, so... At that point, the main purpose in this level is to bypass having to generate invisible block bridges to get past the 2 gaps that they'll need to cross in order to reach the exit in this level. So you want to flip over the Koopa near the first pipe and use it to knock out those bob-ombs in the bottom section. You want to clear those ice blocks out of the way and either stopping or doing a slight turn back just to make sure you have 1 leftover Koopa shell the upper section. And like the pyramid strat, you can run and break the bottom block and then skid right past by to the exit. So it looks like neither of our runners had any trouble with that.
Yeah, but both of them being able to keep the P-speed strats there throughout the whole level. But this is still crazy close. I can't believe how close we still are, and we're in World 7.
It's always really exciting when they're really that close.
Yeah.
We're still at that point in the game where there's going to still be a little bit of luck involved, so it's still anybody's game at this point.
Yeah, Pipe Clip coming up is definitely going to be a deciding factor.
On how, if they get it, or how many attempts they make at it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Until then, we just got the sea creatures auto-scroller.
Interesting thing about those sea creatures is that it's RNG how they spawn on the left and right hand sides of the screen, so that could affect pick up over the course of the level.
Yeah, the bloopers with their children can cause a lot of lag frames on this level, so and it is a slight RNG how they're gonna actually do the lag frames, and yeah, HaxOr getting short end of the stick there with his lag frames.
Ordinarily you could pick up one of those fire flowers just to reduce the lag by sniping them out, but they're both going to want to hold on to their raccoon tails because that's going to serve them well for the piranha level that's coming up, and for the first fort they're going to encounter, and for level 7-6. So if they're able to hold on to that extra raccoon tail that they have in stock right now, they'll be able to fly over the first half of 7-9 if they decide to take that route. So TheLostLlama is using his star to make its way casually past the first piranha plant level. So he's going to be picking up his P-wing here. Right, so they're going to be making their way over to the fortress now. So they don't necessarily need a P-wing in order to get up to the upper level. As long as they have that tail, they'll have enough surface space to run on in order to build their P-speed and make their way up to the upper pipe. They can use their P-wing in 7-6 to fly over the wall where that doorway is, and then they'll have that that in their inventory for 7-9 if they decide to do that instead of the wall clips.
Yep, and Llama queuing the P-wing, so yeah, he can just fly right over here. So Llama is slightly ahead. This is really only a couple seconds, though.
Almost neck and neck.
Yes. This pipe clip is so important right now. We're not there yet, but it's coming up, and I'm very curious as to what will happen.
Well, it looks like HaxOr didn't go for the pipe clip, so Llama did a little bit of damage boosting in the beginning of 7-8, so took a little damage here, so we'll see how he decides. So we'll probably just go through 7-7 as Small Mario.
Yeah,
it's
looking to be slightly disappointing in that neither are going to go for pipe clip. HaxOr didn't even try for it. Llama could attempt it as Small Mario, but I think it's even slightly more difficult.
Plus, I haven't watched Llama too much, so I don't know if he has much experience attempting the pipe clip or if he had any interest going into it at all. Yeah. But even so, the ideal strat there would just be, at that point, would just be to do a 2-cycle with the star. So because you have Small Mario, you don't have to worry about duck sliding under that pipe, so that's a nice advantage to have.
Yeah. Important thing to realize is HaxOr not able to get the clip there is gonna help even the gap as well. If Llama's able to get this gap, that clip is gonna definitely catch him up a little bit.
I actually did a couple time experiments on just how much time you would save if you were gambling on wall clips. So if you were able to get all 4 wall clips on your first try in 7-9, that's about 26 seconds. So, but, 13 about 8 seconds over just doing 2 wall clips and then just climbing through the second half.
It's crazy.
Alternative, and it also saves you 13 seconds if over the P-wing strat. Yeah, if you do opt to play it safe, there's absolutely no reason why you wouldn't do the P-wing strat. It's like Llama took a little bit of damage in 7F2, so he's not gonna have his fire flower.
Yeah. That's why he picked up the Hammer Brother. It's because he lost the flower, and this is like his only way to do it now.
Haxor has
hammer strats.
Opportunity to catch up now because he was able to get a nice smooth hammer run through the 7F2. So he'll have a nice quick kill on Boom Boom, so that'll...
Yeah. And yeah, people are just excited because they get to see hammer strats. But in reality, it's almost like a punishment for Haxor right now.
Oh, I mean, from the time it takes you to just go down the pipe in 7-8, pick up the hammer suit, and then just make your way out of 7-8, you are investing time. You do lose about 5 or 6 seconds that way, but you're hoping to see a return on that investment by getting that quick kill on Bowser. A nice smooth kill on 7F2. So long as he's holding on to that hammer suit for the rest of World 8, it will have been a worthwhile endeavor.
Hopefully we can see that, because right now you can just see the lead that Llama has here. Still only like a few seconds, maybe like 5 to 10 seconds, and so it's just gonna come down to how effective this kill is.
And I just want to say that when I first saw Haxor do the hammer strat in the World 7 Fortress, I was absolutely mind blown by it just because of the tight execution that's involved. But now that I actually forced myself to learn it, I wouldn't have it any other way.
It's like the only opportunity to use the Hammer Brother. Like, there are some really cool power-ups in this game, and in the 100% route, ironically, we barely use them.
I poured so many hours just into learning that fortress alone, and
like,
it's just so satisfying.
Like, essentially, all you deal with is the Fire Flower and the Leaf and P-Wing. Like, that's all you deal with power-ups, and there's still the Hammer suit, the Frog suit, like, Kurbo, technically. It's just, like, there's cool stuff in this game, and you don't see it.
Hammer suit generally has to be one of my favorite power-ups in the game, by far. To aim with it just because all the hammers just fire up on that upward arch.
Yeah. It is a slightly different projectile to the Fire Brother. I just love the, like Hammer Brother also has like the little protection that he gets, right? If you duck down, you're in a protective shell now.
Your shell is fireproof, so so it's good to duck when you're making your way past that fire nipper at the end of 7-8. That's a nice little advantage to aside from just getting the quick fire kill on the nice hammer kill on Bowser. You don't have to worry about getting a bad pattern if you're just trying to fire kill him, because sometimes Bowser will leap at an angle in which you just can't escape, and then he'll just inevitably damage you if you're in that upper right hand corner. It also allows for a nice cleaner passageway through level 8-2 because you have the opportunity to snipe out the Angry Sun.
So now we gotta deal with, I believe, 4 auto-scrollers in a row. So just a little bit of time to fully realize how close this is gonna be in hands and whatnot. This is coming down to hand. Yeah, like if they just do the auto scrollers normally, yeah, this is gonna come down to 3 hands and the fortress, and the castle itself rather.
Haxor still does have an opportunity to close the gap, but yeah, he'll be able to save those 5 seconds over the fire kill. Maintains that hammer suit. He does still have a chance to take back the lead. So, because of how close it is right now, it actually could swing things a little bit.
Yeah.
Very often in a 100% race.
Yeah, so each hand, I believe it's a 1.5 seconds of animation. So, if Llama gets hands and TheHaxor doesn't, it could close the gap by like a full 4.5 seconds.
TheHaxor wants to do everything he can to save time at this point, and we actually saw him doing that a little bit in this tank level by grabbing the bob-ombs and then just bonking them against each other, because he could reduce the lag frame just to avoid getting any extra explosions.
Yeah, and just to be clear, yeah, you still have to play the hand levels. We're just talking about the animation that occurs when the hand drags you down into the level. So that animation is a 1.5 seconds. So you essentially hope, like typically it doesn't matter because it is, yeah, only about a little bit less than 5 seconds, and in the long run you can figure that out later.
That hand might as well.
Yeah, but when we have something like this going on, the 5 seconds actually could make an impact.
That hand that grabs you might as well just be a big middle finger when you're speedrunning.
Yeah.
So they're making their way through the Navy right now, no problem. Difficult to get through ordinarily, you just want to steer clear of those rocky wrenches and those big cannons that come up along the way. It's definitely one of the more annoying gatekeepers when you're doing any % no wrong work, because it's the only opportunity you have to get an early fire flower. That lower section in the beginning. Doesn't look like any of them are going to have to worry about that at this point.
I feel like now, like, realizing TheHaxor might have realized the gap and gone for the hammer strat, thinking that was his only chance to get the lead back.
I'm not so sure about that, because I know that whenever TheHaxor does a typical run, he'll usually go for the hammer strat. So I think he knows that it's going to be a pretty significant time save, just generally speaking. But it's also something that he's pretty confident in. So I think he knew what he was doing, regardless of the gap.
Right. So both of them not getting the first hand. Llama not getting second hand. Same with TheHaxor. Are we getting the same RNG for hands over here?
Yeah, at the very most, TheHaxor could just lose a 1.5 seconds if he gets that extra hand. So
yeah, at this point, the third hand's not even gonna make that much of an impact. And okay, Llama gonna get no hands, and so is TheHaxor. Why does this game do this to me? I lead up to it so much, and then it's like, not gonna matter. Sorry.
Can't I have this luck more often in Warcraft? %. This just made things a lot more interesting, because getting behind by maybe 4 or 5 seconds to begin with, and since they both got no hands, he legitimately does have a chance to catch up now. So
yeah, this is gonna come down to if TheHaxor can pull off a good hammer kill.
Oh, if they both play perfectly up until this point, they could potentially be in sync by the time they open the princess door.
Tie. You're saying like TheHaxor can save 4 to 5 seconds with the hammer kill.
That's correct.
And they're about 4 to 5 seconds apart. So yeah, if Llama plays perfectly and TheHaxor gets the hammer kill, they'll be within a second of each other.
And as I said before, TheHaxor will also have a slight advantage going to 8-2, because he won't have to worry about taking damage from the Angry Sun if he's able to snipe him out going down the hill Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm just getting ready over here. I am leaning forward in my chair. I am ready for this.
Same. But able to get that early P speed. He's able to bring it with him, bounce that Koopa shell. Falls into that cannon.
Okay. So Haxor, Haxor managed to catch up there.
Now they're only a second apart. This is
wow.
Kidding.
Yeah. There is no real RNG left to deal with at this point. We are just watching on pure skill. Okay.
Hammer snipe.
Able to deal with the angry sun.
Llama is able to maintain his P speed for the most part, going up that hill. Really nice job in execution. Oh my god.
They are at the same spot.
This is the closest we ever come to any of our 100% runs in this tournament so far.
Yeah. Okay. What is this game? Making our way to Bowser now. Or sorry, not Bowser. Still in a fortress.
Considering they're like within a half a second to 1 second of each other, Haxor does have the advantage.
Yeah. And now onto the auto-scroller, so we just get to sit and see how close this is for a bit. Like, just watching that tank go off screen, yeah, this is a second part right now. And yeah, Haxor does have the lead, but he also has the hammer brother kill, the hammer kill that he can do.
He's going to be a little bit more careful on the super tanks since he's going to have to play whack-a-mole with those rocky wrenches. He can't just snipe them out like he would be able to with the fire flower.
Right, because it's an upward movement, the hammer, not downward.
But TheLostLlama does have the opportunity to implement the did one-day affiliate Autoglyph super tank strat TM with a vengeance.
It basically, like, if Haxor takes damage here, it just, like, would ruin the whole thing, and it could actually go swing back in Llama's favor.
If he took damage, then he's going to lose about, like, 20 to 25 seconds.
Yeah. So it's hanging on a lot right now for Haxor.
Haxor took a slight lead right now with that hammer kill.
Mm-hmm. And Llama went for the clip and got it, allowing him to catch up and is taking the lead a little bit here. This is
the closest I've ever seen a Mario
What
race.
Is happening?
Oh my god.
And yeah, that hammer kill just makes it like not even matter.
Yeah, that hammer made all the difference in the end.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh no!
Llama! Gonna lose the fire and is not even gonna be that close of a finish anymore. Okay, so yeah.
Everyone get your DVs out.
Yeah, so that's it for that race at that point. Haxor obviously has finished getting the 111.57.
Everyone get your GGs out for the Haxor. That was an insanely close race.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Huh.
Haxor, how are you? How's your day?
Dude, that's 7-2, man. That's 7-2. Oh, man. I knew I was like 7 seconds behind going in the World 8, and obviously I can save 7 on Bowser with the hammer suit and a little bit of time throughout the world, so I knew I had to play absolutely perfect, and I made no mistakes. It was fucking awesome.
Yeah, being able to Like, it was just like, I was slowly realizing, like, if you took damage, like, you would have lost the entire chance to be able to win this one at that point. Like, it was all hanging on you, on your ability to actually maintain the Hammer Brother. And also, neither of you got hands.
Yeah, I heard that too. I was like, really? Like, I get first try 7-1. He gets like third try. I get no hands. He gets no hands. I'm like, man, like, can I get a break here?
Yeah, like, you're trying to catch up here, and then the gap just still maintains itself because neither of you get any hands.
Even when Llama took that slight lead in, after 7-2, it was only by a couple seconds, so you were able to get that hammer suit.
I missed that input there, and then the rest of World 7 was almost perfect. I missed the boom boom snipe, and then, you know, I took 7-8 a little cautious just because, I don't know, I tend to do that. You only lose a partial second, and it's a guarantee to get through the piranha section, so it's not a big deal.
Up until that point, Llama still had the slight lead, but he fell between those two bullet bill cannons in 8-1. You were able to maintain that peace beat strat, so by the time you both got to 8F, you guys were just a half second to 1 second apart from each other. It was that close.
Yeah, and once I drew it even, I'm like, okay, I feel good, because even if he goes for Task Castle, like, he can't beat me. So, you know, obviously Task Castle, it's very unlikely he could have got it, but I mean, you know, it saved 6.5 seconds.
Did get the elevator clip though, which did
he
allow
got the
him
clip at least.
Oh, okay.
Take
So
the
he
lead
did
by
save a second and a half.
Yeah, you guys ended up getting to the Bowser fight at exactly the same time, but then Llama lost the fire, and your hammer fight just allowed it to, like, not even really be a question about which one was gonna get there first.
Wow, so that was a close race then, huh?
Same time, but then Llama lost the fire, and
I
your
got the Bowser 1 second ahead, yeah, basically, and then
man.
I had hammer suit, so
yeah, the hammer kill was really just, like, made it so it just was, like, it was not close at all, like, getting there, because the hammer kill itself was much faster, but it's just, like, getting there at the same time in itself looks really close.
Even if you kept that fire flower, it still would have been like a 5-second gap.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah, essentially, you getting there at the same time made it so the kill would have been, like, him getting the 111.57, and you probably would have gotten, like, a 112.02.
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that. I could have gotten a 111 still going into World 8. I was just kind of sloppy in 8-1, and that pretty much cost it.
yeah, the sloppiness in 8-1, it would have been really close had you had a perfect 8-1, like, and you had the fire kill. I mean, it might have been less than a second. You know?
Yeah. I'm just curious here. Were you, Haxor, were you actually planning on doing Hammer Route from the start, or did it really, like, you realized the gap, and that's what made you decide for it?
So the hammer route's slower in 100%. It's not too much slower, but it's a few seconds slower. But the nice thing about it is it makes 8-2 really easy, because I can just get rid of Sun. I don't have to worry about its RNG. And then in the Bowser fight, like, I just need to get there, and then it's a free kill. Whereas when you take fire in that fight, as he knows, like, sometimes you get a really bad Bowser where he jumps early and you're like really scared because you didn't get enough fireballs into him. You're like, okay, is he gonna shoot his fire?
Exactly what happened to me.
Yeah, and then there's the other pattern, right, where he shoots his fire as he's jumping, and there's nothing you can do about it, and you just take damage. So it's just for me, it's safety. I know people are like, but you got to maintain it through World 8. But I mean, at the level that Llama plays at and I play at, we don't take damage in World 8 very often, you know.
Yeah.
Steve, I've been watching you, Haxor, for a while, and I know that you've been pouring several hours just into those hammer strats alone, so I figured that was going to be something you were confident in regardless.
Yeah, I was a little nervous about the Fort 742 because I didn't play it very well in practice before, but I had a good one. I didn't get the snipe, but everything else went well, so I was pretty happy with that result. And this is the kind of time I have to run. You know, I'm moving on to play Mitch, and I got to be better. I can't make that mistake in 7-2. If I don't make that mistake in 7-2, I think I played well enough to at least play with Mitch. So
I'm really
Okay.
looking forward to seeing that match as they get scheduled in the future.
Yeah, I was okay, and yeah, as exciting as that was, we still got some more exciting stuff to go to. We're getting the cue from the restreamer to start outroing it. So yeah, next up we do have Super Mario Sunshine, Ouija versus JJ SRL, another quarterfinal match. So that's definitely gonna be great to see. And yeah, don't worry about anything that really happened this interview. That was we're all excited. That was very close. Insane to do. I'm sure we'll just talk about it more once we get out of the stream, honestly. But
Yeah,
thank
I
you,
want to
thank you
watch it
everybody for
back at some
watching.
point.
Thank you everybody for watching. Stick around for Super Mario Sunshine happening like in 5 minutes.
GG's to both of our racers. Give both of them a follow. This was a hell of a race to watch. So
Yeah,
GG Llama, man. Thanks for coming back to the game. I mean,
Yeah.
I know your first race you weren't super happy with, but I think you've been doing a lot of practice since then, and I mean, you're looking good, man. So
Yeah, thanks. I want to get a 110 just like you do eventually. So
it's right there, man.
so close.
All right, guys, have a good one.
You
a
too.
good one.